State your name and occupation for the record, please.
Sarah Murphy, filmmaker.
Ms. Murphy, you are charged with sedition.
Just because I'm making a somewhat controversial film? Come on, this is supposed to be America.
Excuse me, but do you work for Sarah Murphy?
Yes, I'm the publicist for her film production company, Skylight Productions.
What are you writing?
Nothing, just notes.
That isn't just notes. It's formatted like a script.
Silence in the courtroom. Ms. Murphy, how do you plead to the charge of sedition?
To the charge of sedition. Unintentional.
That is not a plea. Will counsel for the defendant please instruct her accordingly and enter a proper plea?
You're guilty, Sarah.
What do you mean I'm guilty? You're not going to defend me from this travesty of justice. I've known you for years, and you've never been such a sniveling coward.
I'm no such thing. It's just that according to the current law of the land, your movie is mocking the administration, and by extension, President Burden.
That's a crime?
It is when it incites violence.
I'll plead guilty, Your Honor, but under protest. I'm telling you, it's just a story. I mean, I know our current president is intent on arresting his political opponents. Everyone who even criticizes him in passing, for that matter. He's even made noises about going after the prior president. That's bad enough. But to arrest a filmmaker in the pursuit of art, that's unbelievable, unprecedented.
They're interpreting it as a form of violent protest. That's the problem, Sarah.
But it isn't even finished. The ending isn't written yet, much less filmed. Our goal is to make it as uplifting as we can.
Your Honor, it doesn't matter how uplifting the defendant claims her film will be. Enough people have witnessed what she's done so far to realize that it's gonna be a subversive piece of garbage.
Sit down, Andrea. You're just mad because you tried out for a small role in the film and didn't get it.
You don't get to tell me to sit down, Ms. Murphy. You may be in charge of your film set, but you don't give the orders here. I suggest you start to take the charges against you seriously. Your freedom may depend on it.
So my freedom is riding on how much authority figures approve of my work? And you're okay with that, Max?
I didn't make the rules.
Why don't you explain to the court, Ms. Murphy, exactly what you were thinking when you set out to portray on film a rebellion against the government? Were you thinking of overthrowing a duly elected president?
That doesn't sound like a terribly objective question, Your Honor. Aren't you supposed to be fair and impartial? Aren't you going to object, Max?
Sarah, don't be such a smartass. Just answer the question.
I'd fire you on the spot as my lawyer, but it wouldn't do any good, would it? Who else could I get to represent me properly? All of you judges and lawyers have been cowed by this. Well, I gotta call it as I see it. And I see fascism on the horizon.
Ms. Murphy, I'm up here.
Sorry, Your Honor. Let me just say that the movie isn't intended to disrespect President Burden, whatever my feelings about his politics. True, it depicts a youth army marching to Washington and organizing sit-ins at certain government sites. But they're opposing the establishment, not a particular official.
I've got to ask, Ms. Murphy, what possessed you to cast yourself as the first woman Secretary of Defense? Talk about hubris.
I'll cop to that. Let me explain. I play Elsie Strang, Secretary of Defense, who might or might not harbor presidential ambitions. Elsie's brother is a rock star whose career has stagnated.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sure you're familiar with my real-life brother, Jake Murphy, who fits that description of a fading musician. We hope to persuade him to appear in the film toward the end. While playing a concert in D.C., he would reveal himself as the driving force behind the insurrection against me, a high government official. The sibling rivalry you see will be a major subplot.
But according to the part of the script I saw, your character has designs on joining his band, despite being head of the military. That, Ms. Murphy, would put you on the side of the insurrectionists, not to mention being a traitor to your oath of office.
I get what this is all about now. You've given yourself away, Sarah, as a wannabe rock star. You want to not only revitalize your brother's career, but to grab onto his coattails. That's the main purpose of this film, to unleash some subversive rock music. Admit it.
Okay, I admit it. I'd love to jumpstart my brother's career. Is that a crime too? But I must say that's not what the movie is all about. Not entirely, anyway. We're aiming for a conclusion that brings about reconciliation. We intend to show that an insurrection can be productive. It can even bring about peace. We just haven't worked out all the details yet.
Peace, my ass. Excuse me, Judge. What I mean to say is this movie must never be finished. Or if it's finished, it must never be released. Ms. Murphy is being disingenuous. What she intends to do is a threat to the administration, and most likely a personal threat to the president.
At most, it satirizes the president. That's hardly the same as threatening. Can you admit that much on my behalf, Max?
Well, that depends. In some cases, it's borderline.
Excuse me, are you in the cult too?
What? No, I mean what cult?
Our president has a mandate to enact his agenda. He was elected by a landslide. You sore losers on the other side simply can't accept that.
Oh, come on. Landslide and mandate are exaggerations. Besides, the youth of the country were not well represented in the vote. Some even maintain they were actively discouraged from voting. That's why I envision them exerting their power in a more, I guess you could say, a visceral way, by means of a youth army, strong but peaceful.
Your use of the word army doesn't imply peace, Ms. Murphy. It implies violence.
Not necessarily, Your Honor. So what if a peace army seems to be a contradiction in terms? It may be a fantasy, but what else are movies for?
There's no such thing, and never will be. Your Honor, could it be any plainer that this film is pure leftist propaganda? The filmmaker has as much as admitted she wants to portray ways of taking down a legitimate president. I see it as an instruction manual for insurrection.
Oh, for heaven's sake, it's only a film. And the so-called insurrection only happens when the president, who's a totally fictional president, by the way, exposes himself as a wannabe dictator and warmonger. That's when my character, Elsie, walks out of the bureaucracy and joins the resistance.
I have to agree with Ms. Moss. There is potential for violence here. I've yet to hear of a peaceful insurrection.
As I've said, the ending is yet to come. All I know is there will be a confrontation on the National Mall between the authorities and the kids. But whether that amounts to a revolution or not, well, I'm not prepared to say at this time. Your Honor, I have the script right here. At least one possible version of it. If you need confirmation...
Who the hell are you?
Imogen Taylor, publicist and assistant to Ms. Murphy, and also part-time screenwriter.
I knew it. I knew it wasn't just notes. She's writing the actual script as we sit here.
And I can prove it's unfinished. There's no final resolution to the battle on the mall. It's not even certain it's a real battle, with real bloodshed and everything. That might take more special effects than we can afford. I'll decide what we can afford, Imogen, but we do need to finish it, and soon, or we could go too far over budget. I should point out, Your Honor, that I'm not only a film producer and actress, but a businesswoman. I'm out to make a profit, not a revolution.
So you admit to being a bit of a mercenary?
All I'm saying is, we're losing money every day. I'm stuck here in court, not doing my job and not overseeing my employees. Sarah runs her production company as a tight ship. I can vouch for that. At least, she did before she was arrested, snatched right out of her office during working hours, and had to start dealing with all this. I should also point out that I know President Burden was a savvy businessman in his former life. A billionaire, in fact. I certainly admire that. He even wrote textbooks about how he started and developed his various businesses, including one involved in film production. I'm also aware that he self-funded his campaign for president. Speaking for myself, I have no political ambitions, but if I ever did, I'd aim to self-fund like he did.
Have you actually read any of his books? And can you quote me some of the advice he's dispensed, especially about the film business, that you're taking to heart?
Well, I didn't exactly get around to reading his books, although I've been meaning to. Imogen, I believe you told me a while back you picked up a few good business tips from one of those books? Well, yes. In fact, I glanced at several of them. But, to be honest, in some cases they tell you what not to do. The president has had some successes, but it's a mixed record. His film company, in particular, went belly up, you might say. In fact, some say the main reason he ran for president was to escape his creditors.
Your Honor, could you please have this This woman removed from the courtroom? Nobody asked her opinion about the president's business prowess, or anything else that pertains to this case.
Actually, I might like to hear more from her, to add some humor to the proceedings, if nothing else. Ms. Taylor, I'm going to ask you a few questions about the ongoing film. First, step up to the defense table and state your name for the record.
Imogene Taylor. As I said, I'm currently the publicist for Skylight Productions, but I've also been dabbling in screenwriting. I've been trying to come up with a suitable conclusion to the current film. I'm aware that other staff members are doing the same.
She's the publicist? Then it's her job to make Sarah Murphy look good. That's an unfair advantage for the defendant.
Ms. Taylor, do you think you can be objective about your boss?
I'm sure I can be. Although it's not that hard to make Sarah Murphy look good, this is a fine time to kiss up Imogene. Now don't start babbling, just show them the script. They'll see it's unfinished. You could say the ending is being written by committee.
But mainly by you, Imogene. I've been watching you. You've been working on that script the whole time we've been here. Maybe you even finished it by now.
Then I demand it be read to the court. Right now. That will prove it's a declaration of war.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's always room for a peacemaker to arrive on the scene. And I did just get a brainstorm a moment ago when President Burden was mentioned. I've heard he's taking a special interest in this trial.
Of course he is. This trial has great relevance to current events.
Of course it does. So here's my brainstorm. What if the president himself intervened to strike a peace deal? What a perfect climax to the movie. Hold on, I'm supposed to be the Secretary of Defense. Peacemaking would be my job. Isn't that what we agreed to, Imogene, when we outlined the script? That I'd be in charge, both as the lead actor and the head of production? Yes. I mean, not necessarily. Certainly it could be you. But what if the peace deal was an even bigger deal? No offense, of course, Sarah, but a fictional Secretary of Defense can't hold a candle to the actual president.
It's an intriguing idea, I must say. I hope the president is hearing this right now. I was told he might be checking in from time to time. Maybe he'd be interested in exercising his acting chops, especially for such a good cause.
If he agrees, we can definitely write it that way.
I think it's a brilliant idea, especially since it could get you off. I heard your proposal just now on the monitor, which I switched to one way. I'm totally intrigued. Draw me up a contract and I'll sign it.
Oh my God, he's here. Hold on a second, everyone. Hiring the actors for this picture is my job. And is a one-way monitor even legal? It looks like spying.
Are you crazy, Sarah? Hiring him could keep you out of jail.
We didn't know you were coming, Mr. President, but we're honored, absolutely honored, by your presence.
And so am I. I'm nearly speechless.
I didn't prepare for this, or I would have the contract ready. But I can do that very quickly.
You're the one who's crazy. Have you forgotten that he and his loony followers are the ones who got me arrested? Wait a minute, Sarah. He is the president. You have to acknowledge his current power, as well as his past dabbling. That is, involvement. In movies. Don't you think you should at least audition him? Sir, would you be willing to read a few lines? I have them right here.
I don't read much. I'm much more effective off the cuff.
Another thing, Mr. President, if you don't mind my saying so, apart from being Commander-in-Chief now, you don't have military experience. So how believable would you be on a battlefield? You'd have to look as if you were ready to fight the rowdies, physically, if necessary.
It's true I missed out on military service in my youth. It wasn't my fault. I just had too many other priorities. Besides, so what if I'm not exactly a hardened soldier? I'd rather go straight to peacemaker anyway. Personally, I'd rather have a Nobel Peace Prize than a Purple Heart any day.
That's fine. We can portray you that way.
Look at her go. By the time she's through with the president, he'll be Jesus Christ, delivering the Sermon on the Mount or something.
Anything to save you from yourself, even if it means worshipping the devil, at least temporarily.
Let me see that script.
Excuse me, Mr. President, but I need to see it first. It's my film production company. As I've been trying to get across to the court, I'm the one who approves scripts. Sorry, Sarah. I gotta do this, even if you fire me for it. Let me just say, your courage is truly inspirational, but we must live to fight another day. You want me to sell out to this dictator president? Like everybody else in this courtroom? And probably most of the country? It's called survival. Besides, it'll sure bring in a lot of business. And maybe he's a decent actor. You never know.
I'm a great actor. All I have to do is be myself. I'll put this in my own words. Blessed are the peacemakers, for mine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Stuff like that.
Well, actually, Mr. President, it's thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. We can't cast you as God just yet.
That's okay. I'll work on it. And while I'm at it, I'd like you to cast my friend Andrea Moss in the movie too. She's been my personal lawyer from time to time. She's great at everything she does. So you were wrong to turn her down earlier for whatever role she wanted. She'll be fabulous.
Sure she will. If you say so, Mr. President.